How could you have worn that ugly ass sweater on today's episode? What is wrong
I
with you?
I may or may not have paid like $55 for this sweater just to troll you, knowing that I would have an opportunity over the holidays to do so.
You paid over $50 for that crappy ass
It's
sweater.
it's knitted. It's quite warm.
I mean,
and
it's
cozy.
beautiful. Listen, it is a beautiful looking sweater. The problem is Hank McCoy, the sociopathic,
I know.
crazy. All right, familia, I'm the Uncanny Dayspring,
I'm the adjectiveless Flinkman.
and it's our annual top 10 Marvel Legends list.
Can you believe this is what, the fourth 2020, 2021, 2020? This is wait, hold on. Let me count again.
2020, 21, 22,
22, 23.
It's
This
our
is our
fifth-
fifth. This is our fifth.
year. I cannot believe it.
Like, we couldn't possibly be as old as we have to be in order for this to be our fifth list.
Do you know what the worst part is about documenting our X-Men fandom the last 5 years? Is that I look at videos of you when we first started, you look exactly the same, but I can notice with myself aging. I'm like, oh my God, I went from a chaotic twink to a chaotic middle-aged man.
Oh my god, my doctor called me middle-aged the other day, and it like took my breath away. She might have said near middle age, but like either way, it was really traumatizing for me. So but you don't look, no, you look exactly the same. You spend too much money to look like you've aged.
Oh my God, no, I have the red light therapy, I have the Botox, everything. There was something like millennials, they pay $450 for their daily skincare regimen and 45 minutes to implement it. I was like, yes, that right there.
I mean, maybe my secret is I don't do anything.
Well, you
Maybe
also
that's
don't
my
drink. You don't drink.
Well, that's true. That's the true secret is I haven't had a drop of alcohol for my entire 30s. So, which I'm about to vacate in mere weeks at this point. Which
Listen,
either way, we still buy toys. We still talk about toys. Never lose
bitch,
the
I
child
love it.
inside.
No, I love going to like Target and being that middle-aged man in like the toy aisles and like stomping over anyone looking for my Marvel Legends.
I mean, I wit my Target. Do your Targets even still have Marvel Legends? Because
No.
mine has had like the same like MCU Iron Man for the last 6 months, just like the one hanging from
Yeah.
the
Yeah, it's funny.
there.
Well, and it's also because like the Targets I really go to are the New York-based ones. And they're always picked over. Even if there was a peg warmer, the peg warmer is gone just because of the sheer volume. Like the
Yeah.
Target I have is where Cynthia Erivo was at, where Taylor Swift goes to. Like that's where they no, not to patron, to appear when they have a promo, not to patron. Let me be clear. But it's those high volume
Yeah.
traffic stores.
Yeah.
So I never find anything. I'm so disoriented when it comes to peg warmers.
Poor thing, poor thing. It's all right. It's all right. You can always count on me to find a Black Queen, Jean Grey,
I was just
hiding for
thinking
you.
that.
You need me to find the good stuff in the NYC area.
Do you know what you also found me like years ago? It was the Walmart exclusive Stephanie Brown figure.
Yes, I actually okay, so I just told you, I think it was before we were recording, but I just told you I organized did a lot of organizing of my collection last weekend, and I found that Stephanie Brown figure. I haven't seen her in like 5 years, and she's here. She's in the room with us now.
Oh, good. I can feel her presence. I love Stephanie Brown so
I do
much.
too. I do too. At work we actually got the first Stephanie Brown page that I've ever seen, and I was like, "Oh, Stephanie, I love you. She's my Batgirl." And all of the other fanboys were like,
She's my
"Right?
Batgirl too. I find it
Oh, I know.
absurd. I mean, listen, I love Cassandra Cain. Okay, this is going to turn into a different podcast, but I love Cassandra Cain very much. But at the time when it was Batman Reborn, it was Batgirl Reborn, and she stepped in. And the thing about Stephanie Brown that makes her such a wonderful superhero is that she always wanted to be a superhero. Everyone second guessed her. And despite everyone laughing at her, she could even climb up the mantle from Robin to Batgirl. And
Yeah.
that's what I love. And she does it with a smile on her face, and she enjoys waffles.
And let's not forget her teenage pregnancy.
Oh, yeah.
Which
That's
of course
never
has been
mentioned
retconned.
again. Yeah.
Never ever mentioned again. And actually the page that we got from work was like from that era. So like, oh, I was in heaven.
Okay, well, speaking of heaven, what did you think of the year we had with Marvel Legends? Because it was a big year for the X-Men with 97 and Deadpool and Wolverine. Ergo, we had some really good figures come out this year. What were your
Yeah,
general impressions?
I mean, looking at our list, it's actually pretty hard to make a list. I think I could have easily, listed like 15 to 18, like no problem, and that's a pretty good. That's a large amount of figures. I would say that that's more in one year than I've had in a while. So it was a strong year for Marvel Legends, and I feel like they have just overall in general like really improved female figures specifically. The new, some of the new female bodies that we got this year, are excellent templates for figures going forward. And I think we say it all the time. We are living in like a golden age for Marvel Legends, and if the leaks for 2025 are real, then like we will be living in like a platinum age for Marvel Legends for me. So I'm just so happy to be an ML stan at this point. It just feels like a moment. We're having a moment.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think this was a great year. And, when I look back on some of the figures I may not have liked as much, and there's one in particular that is a little bit of a disappointment for me and that we will talk about.
Oh
But
yeah.
I cannot argue with the quality of. Right, like
Yeah.
I can't say this wasn't a well put together. Like the mechanics of the toy aren't superb. They're not above and beyond. The concept isn't great. I mean, again, Hasbro, they own Marvel Legends. Like the line is what it is, and we have seen it from the days of Toy Biz to when Hasbro first took over the license to the return of Marvel Legends to where we're at now, and they are king of the hill. Right? Is that the expression? I'm like king of the hill.
No.
Whatever. You know what I
Listen,
mean? Like no shade to some of the other action figure waves out there, but I definitely look at some figures in those targets, and I'm like, I'm so glad I'm not a stan of this wave or these characters because I would be disappointed.
DC. No, sorry. McFarlane. No. Yeah.
I was
I
exactly what I was saying. I'm so glad the Batman and Robin figures turned out the way they did. They're the best that McFarlane could offer, and
right.
I'm very happy with it because I saw some of the
Right.
other ones. I was like, oh no, like Fire. I was like, oh, maybe I want to pick her up. No, I saw her. Even at my Target, she was there for weeks.
Yeah, so there's no shortage of questionable DC figures at Target. Meanwhile, Legends are nowhere to be found. I don't know if that speaks to like the health of the brand or a lack of distribution. But either way, those DC figures are there, and I don't want to buy them like ever. I ordered like you said, I ordered the Batman Forever and the Batman and Robin, and I'll get Michelle Pfeiffer Catwoman and Danny DeVito Penguin should those ever materialize. But like their comic figures, I just don't have a lot of interest in. But even like a line like GI Joe Classified, which I'm not into, but the figures are unquestionably amazing. I don't even think that a line like that would exist without Marvel Legends having paved the way for these super detailed, superposable, 6-inch scale figures for the last 20 years. Like, so not only are they arguably the best action figure line on the market, but most of the other lines that we have these days that are successful I don't think would exist had Marvel Legends not paved the way for them.
I agree. They paved the way. They're fun, and we talk about this all the time, which is it's more than just collecting the figures. It's like a hobby. I don't want to say like way of life, but you know what I mean. Like you speculate, you review, you go online, you see what other people are thinking. You see reactions. Like I just like I love the entire ecosystem of Marvel Legends, and that's something that we picked up on really early on back
Oh
in the
yeah.
day on the Foosh. Before there was YouTube, before there was the rise of like collectors like and platforms. like you could go on the Foosh and like you would just speculate for like pages and pages, and I think that's stronger than ever now. And certainly with Power of X-Men, we get a lot of engagement on the YouTube page just for Marvel
Oh
Legends.
yeah. At least I don't. You mentioned you still are like stalking targets and whatnot, hunting for them IRL. I don't do that quite as much as I used to, but every now and then, there is an occasion where, it feels like everybody in my feed is like running to Target at 8 in the morning on Sunday to get, retro card Gambit and Rogue or a figure we're going to talk about perhaps a little later, where
Oh,
it really is like, oh, I know you had a terrible experience with that, but not everyone can have my winning strategies.
I hate you
Uh,
so much. I hate you so much. You in a beast sweater saying winning strategies just makes me want to hit you so hard.
oh, poor you being 1,000 miles away. Can't bitch slap me through Zoom. Sorry, girl. But like no, like there's like a every now and then there really is still like in addition to this robust, social media, YouTube community of Marvel Legends fans, it still feels like there's this every now and then there's like this, like I said, this magical like IRL component to collecting that at almost 40 years old, it's still provides something of a thrill. I don't know. Like it takes me back to the days of finding the Giant Man wave at Walmart. You know what I mean? Like you can still get that kind of high collecting Marvel Legends.
Well, all right, let's dive into the list because there's so much things that you said there that I sort of wanted to jump in on, but we can do it while talking about the list. And
Do it.
what
Let's do it.
I'll kick us off with our number 10 because we disagreed. This is the first time that we are actually we do agree on a lot, but our lists are not in sync necessarily.
Not 100%.
So why don't you tell us what your number 10 is?
Okay, so kicking off number 10 for me, this is probably not going to be a surprise to anyone who has listened to our last four lists, as this was somebody probably in the top three on all of them. And that is, of course, X Factor Wolfsbane. I mean, finally, after all of this time, what we got the Havoc and Polaris 2-pack like almost 5 years ago at this point.
2018, 2019, something like that.
Yeah, we had the Strong Guy Bath in 2020, so like she's been due for a while. And she's a great figure. I think the texture of her fur is great. Like her uniform looks great. She's the same blue and yellow. Like we sometimes have a problem with teams blue and yellows not matching in Marvel Legends, but she fits right in with the blue and yellow they've chosen for the X Factor team. She might be a little too orange for me. She's definitely based more off of like a modern, like Todd Knock X Factor Forever cover rather than like a Larry Stroman. But I'm not going to complain too much.
Oh, I will.
Please, please. What are your thoughts on this beautiful?
No, it's
figure?
exactly that. It's too much of like the X-Men Legends, like modern cover and not the original looking. Like I wanted her a little darker brown. I think she looks a little too cartoony when I wanted her a bit grittier. So that's why she's not even on my list. I didn't even consider her. For me, it's like I wish they would have not given us who was one of the characters in the 3-pack. Oh, they should have just given the slot to Magma when they did the Danny Moonstar, Walgreens exclusive. If we were gonna get this figure, because I don't know. It's just. I don't know. I don't feel like it was
the Walgreens one better, do you? Is that what you were about to say?
Well, I want to say I like that one better, and they could have saved that head for this one. Yeah.
Sure. I mean, I like her. I like the expression.
I love how you called me out on that. You knew me so well. I was like, wait, let me not say that. Let me not say. It's like when two people are about to fight, and you're going to say something you're going to regret. I like the Walgreens head better, so I wish we would have gotten Magma for the Walgreens 3-pack, or I keep calling it 3-pack, but you know what I'm saying. And use that head for this. And
I mean, that's fair. That's fair.
And like that shade of brown, I'm like, girl, why are you so orange? Why are you so orange, girl?
Girl, look how fucking orange you look. Like, no, I totally, I mean, I said it. I totally agree with you. I think she could probably have bigger more 90s hair,
Yeah.
like in that the Joe Quesada, like Larry Stroman
Yeah.
classic Peter David era of X Factor. But like I have been asking for this figure for literally forever. So like she couldn't not make my list.
That's fair.
But it's interesting that you say that you bring up Magma and the Walgreens figure because actually, as I said, I've been going through my stuff organizing. I am fine. I'm displaying that New Mutants female for the first time ever, and I put the Sharon Carter 3-pack head from this year
Hmm.
on. It's perfect.
Oh, really? Oh,
It
I'm going
looks
to ask you for a
just
photo afterwards.
yeah. I'll send it. I'll send it. She
Wait, which
looks
Sharon Carter?
great. The one
The
that just came out this year, the
Okay.
3-pack with Dum Dum Dugan and Fury.
Okay.
She just,
It's not the one that was a repaint of Rogue from the Wolverine series.
no,
That's
oh
what I was thinking. I
god,
was like, wait a minute.
no,
The Red
no, no, no.
Onslaught wave, which
The new one this year.
I love the Red Onslaught wave, by the way.
Of
I have
course you
the
do.
best memories of that. Finding it at the now no longer Toys R Us by IKEA in Jersey. But yeah, so the thing about Wolfsbane, though, that makes me nervous is like, if that's what they did to her, what are they going to do to Farrell?
I mean, it's fair. I listen
Like,
as long as they get the hot pink right,
no,
I'm
I'm
good.
worried that we're not going to get like a Rob Liefeld like Farrell. Like I'm worried we're going to get more of the later iterations of Farrell, how she's rendered. Like for me, if you're going to do Farrell, she needs to look vicious, like about to fight like Wildside. Like I need that like ferociousness that only Rob Liefeld could capture.
I feel like if they're going to make a feral, they're going to go straight to Rob Liefeld. But like, what do I know? You know, we'll see. We'll see. They didn't obviously, like we said, the inspiration for this wasn't 100% what we wanted, but she could not make my list. I don't think she's like a foreboding sign for a future feral figure, even though this orange color is probably more what I would expect a feral figure to be colored like.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I digress. I digress. Fair, you know, Wolfsbane is my number 10. I know you have a different opinion. Who's your number 10?
Bloodstorm. Bloodstorm. We live in an era where we have Bloodstorm. And by the way, she's based off of the Mutant X
Yeah.
Bloodstorm, not the X-Men Blue. That's an alternate Bloodstorm that came over and dated Cyclops. Teen Cyclops that was displaced from time and space as well. Like, I know.
The less we talk about that, probably the better. But
I
yes,
try to outline
did
that for
happen.
people. Some people did not understand how this was not Mutant X Bloodstorm, that it was a different. Anyways, this figure is Bloodstorm from the Mutant X timeline. She looks incredible. I'm always going to love Mutant X for that era.
Yeah.
We have Marvel Woman, who is Madeline Pryor, and she's married to Havoc in this reality, and they have a son named Scotty, and they form the Six, and we got a wave of them at like the tail end of the Toy Biz days, and it was
Comic
so.
shop exclusive.
Yeah, I was about to say that. Yes, you had to like order them with your comic book store, and she was part of that wave, and she had like the leathery jacket, like the pleathery jacket,
Yep.
and
I
the
have this
way.
somewhere.
Yeah, I have her in my parents' place, but like this figure evokes that sense of wonder and love that I had for the series and this. And also, I think, again, Hasbro nailed the look, the ponytail. She looks like she stepped right out of the comic.
Yeah, she absolutely does, and I can't argue at all for putting her on your top 10 list. You know me, I'm like all about completing teams, getting characters that I've been wanting for a long time. Someone like Bloodstorm, the reason that she wouldn't make my list is because I don't think she's like a signifier for future Mutant X figures. I think she's just like a Strange Tales appropriate
Yeah.
version of a popular Marvel character that they could put in, you know, like that Halloweenish themed sort of wave. I don't know. I don't know. That's the reason that she's not on my list. She's an excellent figure, especially the head of her like snarling with her fangs out and her eyes red. Like I love that. I would love to get, you know, Marvel Woman, Havoc, Brute, all of the characters from Mutant X. I don't think that's going to happen. So because she's not someone I'm going to immediately put into a display, I'm not as excited about her as I could otherwise be. But she's a flawless execution of a character that I love. No notes. I mean, she's great. She's great.
Yeah, I hope. I don't know how the Strange Tales wave did. I never saw it at retail. I never saw them out
I
and
think it
about.
was a
Oh,
direct market
oh,
exclusive or
were they?
whatever they
Okay.
fan channel.
Fan channel exclusives. I
Yeah.
haven't seen them out in the wild. Well, maybe I have seen them. Anyways, I hope they did really well. I think what made them a very successful hit was that they came out during Halloween,
Yeah.
and it just lent itself to the vibe. Like I remember, why did I have I don't know why I was carrying Bloodstorm around, but I was in my neighborhood in
Why
Hoboken,
wouldn't
and
you?
I don't know why I was carrying her around. I mean, I probably went to a bar and like got the package, went to a bar,
This is
opened it
my
up.
child.
Oh, okay, I'll tell you something a little later. But yeah, so like I pulled her out, and it was like October. The leaves had just started turning orange, and I had her out, and I was like, "This is beautiful. I love her so much." I just think Tom Rainey, who did the art for Mutant X at first, it set such a vibe, and it translated so well into the action figures. So that's my number 10, Bloodstorm.
No notes, no notes. She's a wonderful figure. She's a wonderful figure. Do you want to jump into your number 9?
Yes, my number 9, and we'll be really quick about this one for me because I have feels on yours. I have feels on yours, but it's a Deadpool and Wolverine suited up in the yellow costume because we have been dying for such a long time to see like classic X-Men costumes sort of translated into
Yeah.
like the big screen. So we finally got the yellow costume for Wolverine. Seen that figure holding it. I found him at Target, or what did I find him at Forbidden Planet? I'm forgetting where, but holding him in package, he looked absolutely wonderful. Hugh Jackman returning was so ceremonious. It was a box office hit, and to see finally from that first figure, the Toy Biz figure we got of Wolverine, the first one I got was him stabbing Rogue. I believe he
Mm-hmm.
was shirtless. From that figure that I held when I was 16 to now being a 41-year-old man holding that, I was 40 at the time, but holding that figure and seeing that we finally got the yellow spandex, in the movie, holding it, I was so happy with it, and I thought it was flawlessly done in an era where we've seen the Avengers, movie figures everywhere. I'm so happy to finally see X-Men in a bright and comics accurate costume.
Yeah, I mean, I can't argue with that. I don't own him. I didn't buy him. I don't do a whole lot of MCU figures. He might, if I'd seen him on the peg somewhere, I probably would have wound up getting him because he's a nice figure. My coworker Lacey, she sits right next to me at work. She has him on her desk, calls him her son. Uh,
I know Lacey because I've been to your office before, and she gave us a
yeah,
video like 2 years
yeah.
ago.
Yeah, I think he would probably be if we had solicited her for her opinion on Best Legends. I bet you that figure would have won. So he's a great figure. I've held him. I've played with him a little bit. He looks great. He's a great representation of that costume. Hasbro has always, I think, done a pretty good job making action figure representations of the MCU costumes. He's a great figure. He's just not in the niche of collecting. Because girl, I don't have room for all of this stuff anymore. I cannot. Even if it's an MCU X-Men character, I have to draw. I have to hold the line. Otherwise, I'm just going to be completely even more out of control than I already am.
But you know what? What's going to happen when they do Dazzler or Emma in the MCU, and you're going to want to complete the team?
So no, here's the thing. Dazzler, Emma, and Havoc are three characters who I allow myself to buy things I wouldn't for others. So I would buy MCU versions of those characters. I buy HeroClix versions and Minimate versions of those characters. So those three, I would give myself a pass, and probably Madeline Pryor as well. So,
Okay.
and Rachel. Like, okay, there's a few people that I would make exceptions for, but
Question: would you buy a Halston Sage Dazzler
no,
figure?
because she's too good. She's too good and too busy for us. Like, it's so good to see that she's booked, busy, and blessed. She's just blowing up all over the world.
I know. I keep looking at her IMDb. I'm waiting to see how busy she is. Anyway,
No,
sorry.
she's so busy. No, I listen. I'm going to be shady. I'm going to be shady. We are Dazzler stands, and we would like have inflated her ego so much, and she's ghosted us for 5 years. No, she actually
Five
hasn't ghosted
years.
us. Straight up not interested.
Straight up, straight up, no, straight up, no from the publicist.
Like even Patrick Stewart's publicist was nice enough to like lead us on for a little bit and consider it and possibly even like ask him if he was interested. But like Halston Stage was like, no,
Yeah.
we are not interested. I'm like, okay, girl, you stay busy now.
Well, so Wolverine right there. And again, I really also, because this is my only Deadpool Wolverine figure on the list, I want to acknowledge what it
Good.
did bring, what it did bring to the cultural, conversation, bringing the X-Men back. However, anyone feels about Deadpool and Wolverine, at least it was like a multi-billion, or not multi, it was $1 billion movie, and it generated a lot of conversation for the X-Men, and I rightfully so. I want to acknowledge it.
And listen, it brought back Jennifer Garner Electra and it introduced the mass populace to Cassandra Nova. I'm for that
I think
alone.
this time next year, you're number
thumbs
one.
up.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but like I think this time next year, number one is going to be Deadpool and Wolverine Electra on your list, and there could be no argument on it. I'm calling it now. I'm calling it now.
Please, please, Dwight and Ryan. I just I need it to be. I need that to happen. Please do it for me. Do it for me.
All right, who's your number 9?
Okay, my number 9 is really surprising because
I
it comes from
is.
a two. It comes from a 2 pack. And I really, when this 2 pack was announced, I really only thought that I wanted one character from it. But then I got it in my hands, and I was like, oh, I love this. It is classic Brotherhood Rogue, and I mean, right off the bat, I'm going to say this is a horrible representation of a 17-year-old girl. It's awful. She has absorbed more than Carol Danvers' powers. She has absorbed her entire body. That's fine. It is what it is. But I don't know, just something about like the smirk on her face, this costume, which I love, realized in 3D. It took me by surprise how much I really enjoyed this figure. I just think she's great. I think it's the details on the costume are all there. Like I'm pretty sure this is an original sculpt for this, or at least the torso is, because of all the details in the hood and the neckline and like the folds and the clothes. Like it just, I don't know. I wound up loving this figure, and it's a complete surprise to me. And having her released the same year as we finally got like a really nice Carol Danvers for her to fight. More on that later. I it just felt I can understand. In addition to getting us, finally getting us Destiny by pairing her with an A-list X-Men, they released her the same year as a Carol Danvers, and it suddenly makes so much sense why we got this figure. And I don't know. I think she's good. I think she looks good, and I'm so ready for you to shit all over her.
Oh, well, okay, first of all, I'm not going to disagree that the figure is good looking. Like the actual figure itself is done well. Like the paint apps look great. I'm trying to remember who drew her in that Avengers Annual. Was it Michael Goldstein?
Michael Golden.
Michael Golden. There we go. I'm like Michael Goldstein. Michael Golden. There is no doubt, because I did the comparison where it was like that first panel where she's like absorbing Cap,
Yeah.
and with this figure, it looks like she popped right out of those pages. But I agree with what you said earlier. She's not. There's something about it that she's
Not a teenager.
It's not a teenager. It's not like Rogue for me is always going to be like a powerhouse all through. This one, she definitely is Brotherhood era. I don't know if I needed her, but I acknowledge that with Destiny, with her, with re-releasing Blob, that we were probably getting Mystique's Brotherhood,
Yeah.
or Freedom Force sort of being put out there. So why not do this if you're going to do Destiny? I would have preferred them to have re-released the Walgreens Mystique, so everyone who didn't have a chance to find her, and you could have gone in like a Marvel's famous couple with like
Oh my
Destiny and
God.
Mystique. I know I throwing it back to the Story Biz days, but
Yes, love
that.
it.
So I don't know. I cannot disagree. Like if I looking at the figure, I'm not going to say it's a bad figure, and I'm not going to say it's like an ill representation of the Michael Golden art and
Yeah.
Avengers Annual, but I just don't care for it. So I
get
think
it.
it's personal preference. But I agree with everything you said. But would not have been on my list. Didn't even think about it. Like for me, I literally opened up the box, held her, and went like this. Like I tossed her aside.
And for me, I agree with you. Like when she was, like I said, when she was announced, I was like, oh, okay. I wasn't like super excited about. I wasn't excited about her at all, and I thought she was just going to go in a drawer. But at this point, like I, I made room for her. Poor Silver Samurai didn't make it into my X-Men villains display because we got a classic robe to go with the Brotherhood instead. No room for the Silver Samurai. And I wasn't expecting that. I expected to get this 2-pack and to be like, holy shit, we finally have a Destiny. Let me put my favorite Marvel lesbians together and call it a day. But I loved this figure so much, I decided to put, the moms and their daughter all together. Have a real family affair going on there. I'm obsessed with her. I think she's
I
an
think
excellent figure, and I would not be surprised if if we got this figure re-released with the light green parts painted white and a more like Mike Carey, Chris Pachalo
Oh
style robe.
yeah. Oh my God. Just put the cape and like the hooded head on it.
Yes, yes,
Perfect.
yes. I
Perfect.
mean,
Oh,
this is
the
a
Messiah
torso that
Complex Zero.
yeah, yeah, yeah. This is a torso they created exactly like specifically for this, and we know that Hasbro loves a good reuse. So I would not be surprised to see. I mean, it also would fit the X-Men '97 robe that we got in the finale episode. So I foresee us seeing this again, and I would. I'm not. It's such a great. It's so good looking. I wouldn't be mad at it.
All right. Number eight. Which again we disagree on our number eight.
We did disagree on number 8, but it's we at least we agreed on redheads. Spoiler alert! But I listen. I had to pick this. This is a character who is just so me in general that I had to pick her,
I
and that
agree.
is Hallows Eve, who is of course a character created for Dark Web, the Spider-Man X-Men crossover event that happened like 2, 3. What is time?
It's like
A
two
little
years.
bit
Yeah.
ago, a hot minute
Yeah.
ago, and she was number one, she was created by Madeline Pryor. So like she is affiliated. She is a minion for Maddie to have in my display alongside Ben Riley. But her power is like Ben Cooper masks. Like she gets the powers of whatever like vintage style plastic Halloween mask she puts on her face. I'm a monster kid. I love spooky stuff. I love Ben Cooper. I buy all the NECA Ben Cooper figures. I'm obsessed with her, and I just think she brings something to my display. Like I don't have this is a color. This bright ass orange is a color that is not represented in my display like anywhere else. So like she's a unique figure. She really stands out in a lineup, and yeah, like I like giving Maddie a minion to to control in my display. So I think she's great. Keep on keeping on with the offbeat Halloween themed characters, Marvel. I'm here for it.
I think offbeat Halloween characters is a great way to sum up like Bloodstorm and Hallows Eve. Like that's perfect. I love that. She's a great figure. Great figure. I
Didn't
don't
buy her,
have her.
did you?
Didn't
Yeah,
buy her because I didn't like Dark Web as much as I should. It's like okay.
she's
Um,
fine.
I like where they positioned Maddie afterwards, but
Yeah,
the actual story, I was like, oh, like there were so many
agreed.
questions with like Maddie and Cable and Jean that I
Yeah,
wanted sort of tackled, and we didn't really. But I had no qualms with her. Is she still around? She got her own solo series for like a minute, right?
yeah. I think she got like a little mini series. I don't listen. You follow the comics better than better than
Yeah.
I do. So I really don't. I really don't know what's going on with her now. I know that she survived Dark Web and has done some things since, and I wouldn't be surprised if she, turns up in October Spider-Man issues from now until the end of time.
But
Because
she's a
why
great
not?
figure. She's a beautiful figure. I mean, turn her around again, like the way her scarf falls on her back
Yeah,
is absolutely gorgeous. Yeah.
she's lovely. She's lovely, and
And the way the cowl like kind of points up there.
yeah, yeah. I have no notes on the figure. She's phenomenal. And I agree with you. The story itself wasn't great, but just this idea of Maddie teaming up with Ben Riley, who's my favorite Spider-Man, who I love, and empower, giving this power set to a character and having her be Halloween based. It's more the concept of it all than the actual story. But no, I'm just happy to have a figure like this with her cutie little masks.
Well, my number 8 pick is one that I'm surprised you didn't even like have her or think to at least include her would be the X-Men 97 Jean with a Madeline Pryor head. Look at her.
Oh, well, see,
Oh,
this isn't the Madeline Pryor head. This is the Jean. Like, if I'm gonna have an animated Jean, I want to have
you want
it's
the
all about the
ponytail.
ponytail. But
Yeah.
tell us what you love about her, and then I'll dive in.
Well, first of all, if someone would have told me that we were going to get an animated style Jean with two heads, one with the hair down and a ponytail, would have lost my shit.
Of
Like
course.
completely. I love the pink deco on this. We were a little afraid given like the VHS like Marvel Legends X-Men wave, which you said this about Wolverine with the cell shading. He looked like he wet himself. And
Yep.
that's all I see when I see that figure is that Wolverine peed himself. We got a Gene in that where the colors were very off. I think
Awful.
in many ways that like the actual like digital printing of the face looks better than the original figure that is, comes from. But the colors were off. Holding this figure, it's just like 9-year-old Paul, who's watching the anime series, would have wanted. And like I conjured her in my head when I was a little kid. This was exactly how I wanted her. I love how like the orange on her suit is. I like the blue how it pops. The two heads. The one thing I don't like is that ponytail is articulate and it falls off, and then we get Battle Blaster's
I
Gene.
was gonna say.
And I hate that. It traumatizes me because Gene does not have short hair. Like
Not in this
AOA and
reality,
yeah,
anyway.
AOA Ultimate Gene, fine. You can get away with the short hair, but like when that happens, I'm like, like, and then I always worry that I'm gonna lose that ponytail and that I'm never gonna find it again, and I'm stuck with it. Even though I have like 8 of these figures,
Right. You
but
have nothing
it's
to
it's
worry
just
about.
one of those things. So I love it. That's it. It brings me joy. I think the paint deco is also really good, and we've struggled with '90s jeans in the past. Again, with the exception being the Lovers Triangle jean, the one that came with Wolverine and Cyclops. Some of the other jeans have just not been in her Jim Lee have not landed, and I think this lands perfectly fine.
So I really like this figure. I think everything you said is beautiful. The face printing is good. The colors are perfect.
What's wrong? What's wrong with it?
It's just it's not it's the deviation from the it's because it's not actually the Jim Lee costume. That is the only problem I have with it. She is not wearing her like Jim Lee thong over her
Yeah.
her costume here. She doesn't have like the legs are different, the boots are different. It's if this was a X-Men 92 animated series Jean that I was holding in my hand, and she had all of the design elements from the classic Jim Lee suit and the animated series. I This figure would be a 10 out of a 10. I would This figure
Like the
would have been on my
patches
list.
being a little bit more peachy, like
Yes,
flesh colored for the
yes.
tights. Yeah,
It
I see
would
what you're
be
saying.
it would be that I mean even the coloring is fine. Like I would accept this coloring. I want the instead of this thick belt, I want her to have the crotch strap, which is horrible to say. And yeah, in the pouches rather than the indentations. And that's it. Like this is a beautiful figure. If I was more of a Jean Grey fan, this would have been absolutely been on my list. She's great. She's a beautiful figure. I don't have any critiques of her other than it's close to being what I want without actually being what I want.
And I'm so glad, and I know she comes with like multiple hands, but I what I like is that she can do this in
Oh yeah.
lieu of like this. I hate
Yeah.
this pose with the psychic. So it's
Yeah.
just, and again, I think the technology with the figure just looks great. Like her hand actually goes up to her like temples. She can like looks like she's about to do her powers. I'm 100% happy with her. And again, like with the exception of Lover's Triangle Jean, all the other 90s jeans have sort of fallen flat. I'm looking at you, Rocket Raccoon Jean, with like the baggy eyes. I love Star Rider Jean so much from the Toy Biz days, but that is not 100% accurate. So this
No.
is one out of two that they just nailed it with the costume and the vibe. Yeah, it's not Jim Lee. It is very X-Men 97, but I'm okay
Yeah,
with it. I agree with you. I wouldn't mind an X-Men 92 version of this
please.
character. But, the coif in her hair would have to be a little tucked in, a little higher, and, the Catherine Disher vibe.
Yes, I listen, this is a great figure. I don't currently have a 90s mainstream. I'm doing my 90s X-Men. I'm displaying the beautiful Mondo figures right now, so I don't have like a Jim Lee Legends display right now, but if when it's not an if, it's a when I have one again, I'm not sure if I'll display this instead of the lovers triangle 3 pack. I don't know. It's such a nice figure. I could see myself getting over I could see myself getting over myself and displaying her, but TBD.
Okay, wait, but you mentioned the Mondo figures, and one of the things that happened to me the other night was my bro David down here in Miami. We were meeting up for drinks at this local bar, and he came with a huge box, and I was directing him to parking in our building. And he's here like, "No, bro, that's for you," and I'm like, "What?" And it was a Mondo Cyclops. And
Yes. Which
he,
one? The
yeah, the one with the jacket, like all the frills. And the thing is, I had not bought it. I didn't want it because I was like, I don't know why I have these X-Men 97 figures are really expensive. They're not doing it for me. But when I tell you that I was holding that Mondo Cyclops, and I was like, holy shit. So I didn't want to come back to upstairs into our apartment. So I walked around my neighborhood bar hopping with it. I was like, I have a child. It is
my
that,
baby.
that Mondo Cyclops. Do you have it?
He's right over there. Yeah.
He's right over there. I eat my words on anything I had said, and they're not bad figures by any means. The Rogue and Gambit are great, but you're like, mm. By the way, so we went down to our storage unit, and I pulled out Jubilee and Magneto. I got them all out, and Cyclops just makes him feel like a vibe. So I love the Mondo figures now. And again, it was because David got me that for Christmas. I was so happy with it.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
I actually have both versions of the 97 Cyclops. I got the one with the jacket, and then they did the one with the skull cap from the end of the season.
Yeah.
Was their, I think, SDCC exclusive version. So I got both. I will say, be careful. These Mondo figures, ever since Funko bought Mondo, they have gotten the quality control has gone down a
No,
little.
no, you know what happened to it? So I put in Magneto's hand last night, and then I went to move the hand, and it snapped off. And so the joint is stuck in Magneto's hand, and I can't get. I didn't know a quality issue was. Jeff and I were literally flipping out last night.
So Rogue, her arm was broken out of the box for me. Still waiting on my replacement. My
Wow,
Rogue in my display is one armed right now.
wow.
I got the Logan. I have all the Wolverines, but I got the Logan STCC one from last year, I believe, with like the yellow plaid and
Yeah.
the leather jacket. He came with two left arms.
Whoa.
And then Cyclops, I was trying to put one of his gloved hands to hold the T that he comes with
Yeah, yeah.
in his leather jacket arm, and exactly what you just said, the hand broke off, and so now I have a closed fist super glued in his hand, and I cannot have leather jacket Cyclops holding his hot tea like I dreamed.
So was that what you did? You super glued it because we got tweezers and we were trying to pull out the peg. I thought like removing
I
the
broke it
arm and
worse doing that.
yeah, so it went in deeper. Jeff even got a drill. He thought he could drill it and pop it out.
Yep,
Nope.
yep,
No. Wow. I'm so glad.
and
I'm so glad it happened to you. I'm sorry it happened to you, but we were really. I was like, because Jeff
I
looked at
was.
me. I'm like, I was like, I know how to handle figures. I'm like so careful with these figures, but I didn't
Yep,
do anything other than pop it in and just move it up and it went
yep.
like that.
So I've learned that you have to run if you're trying to swap things out on Mondo,
Yeah.
you have to run them under hot water. Like you have to.
Interesting.
There is no, and I have the SDCC exclusive Bane from the Batman animated series because he came with like a roided out torso that you can switch. Like the Bane episode where Batman like overloads him and he gets all
Yeah,
Kung
yeah,
Fu.
yeah.
That the SDCC version came with like you can switch it from the torso. I have yet to be able to split that torso off and put the roided out version on, which is what I bought the figure for because I'm so scared after having 3 X-Men quality control issues that I'm gonna like snap this $300 Bane into like 1,000 pieces. So Mondo toys are beautiful, but be oh so very careful with them. Oh, so very careful.
Um, our number 7 on our
Yes.
list. Speaking of oh so careful, who's our number 7? I
I'm
added
like, yeah, you
another figure.
changed
I
this while
changed
we've
it.
been on the Zoom.
I know, because I just thought about this figure and I was like, I can't believe that I didn't put this figure there,
I
but it's
can.
fine. Oh, really?
Okay, so we'll
Mm.
start with mine so that we can
Yeah.
get to yours. It is the other half of the two pack I was just talking about a little while ago, and that is Destiny. And listen, I am just happy to have I'm just happy to have my favorite 80-year-old boob window blind lesbian mutant.
You do love a good boob window.
I do love a good boob window, especially on a senior citizen. Uh, no, and I think you're gonna have your say. I know. I think you were not as thrilled with this figure as I was, but I just think she's a perfect representation of the character. The detailing that they've put on the mask. It's not just like a solid gold. There's like some actual like lowlights on it to give it some depth. I think the blue is beautiful. They put some depth and some a wash on the cape here too to give it depth is like the word of the figure. But she just looks great and like kind of like what you said with Jean is you can get her in like this like forecasting the future pose. Like thank God they finally figured out a way to give female figures double elbows because we can do so
Oh
much
yeah.
more than we were able to before. And she's just kind of the same thing with Hallows Eve is I just don't have there's not a lot of villains this like bright blue color in my display, so she really pops and she looks good with all of the other Brotherhood figures. And I'm so happy that there's not a dud in the Brotherhood lineup. Like this may not be your favorite figure, Rogue may not be your favorite figure, but like when you put the Avalanche, Pyro, Blob, Mystique, Rogue, and Destiny that they've given us over the last 2 or 3 years all together, it's a really solid looking team display. And for that, I couldn't not put her on my list. I do think if I could change one thing, I think I would have had her come with an Irene Adler head, but that is my only complaint.
So I, I think the figure is good looking. It's a great Destiny figure. I think I just question how this 2 pack was executed. I would have rather have had a Irene Adler heads, 2 heads,
Fair.
an old lady and a younger version, so
Sure.
we could have there and again a Mystique with it, and that to me would have been almost a perfect execution. I think the figure is a little basic, but like I get it. Where's her crossbow? Where's her crossbow?
Fair.
Where is
That's
her
fair.
crossbow?
Well, we haven't
And then
seen her
like
crossbow in decades.
fine, but like she's no like when you think of Destiny, you think of that famous shot where she's trying to kill Kennedy. I'm gonna say Kennedy.
Kennedy.
Senator Kelly.
Oh God.
Senator Kelly and Kitty Kate phasing right through her. So and then again you get the older woman with the gray hair head and like the Coke bottle glasses, and that's perfect. So again, I'm not going to complain. The actual figure, I agree with everything you said. I think she has good depth. I love her articulation. I would have wanted a little bit more. There was so much anticipation with her, especially following Jonathan Hickman's Inferno and her being resurrected. I would have wanted a little bit more out of the figure, and I worry that we won't have an opportunity to get this character done. Again, this is her first time ever as
Yeah.
ever as a figure. We're gonna have to wait another 40 years. We're gonna be 80, and we're gonna be like, oh, look at this young stallion
They're
head.
gonna be Destiny's age.
We're gonna be older than her older head, and that I would have wanted a little bit more out of the face. So that's where my disappointment comes, and I admit that is me being bias kind of coming in with like how I would have done it, which I think is incredibly unfair to look at a list or figures like that. I think that's a very unfair way. But it's almost like Rachel, I'm going to anticipate a little bit more given how many people wanted these figures. So I know we are praying for Rachel when she is done, that she is just like that Phoenix Deluxe of Jean. Anyways,
Not just like that, Phoenix.
we'll get to that one later too. But um, I think I really do think the figure is great. For me, it's execution. Why did she come with the first appearance Rogue? Why
Sure.
didn't she come with that Walgreens Mystique that's very much beloved? Why didn't we get more accessories with her? That's where I end my feelings with her. Again, not a bad figure, but just wasn't that umph that I will lead into my top pick here for number 7. I'm like, what number are we on? Which is Executioner. And I think the figure, he looks, when you're looking at the X-Men 97 waves, there are some figures that I think can kind of like double as like
Yeah.
mainstream and ones that are very much animated. He is on the animated side. There's no doubt
100%.
he is animated, but the figure is so well done. Like the paint apps, it's matted, it feels heavy. He comes with so many accessories.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no doubt that this is Executioner for me, and the way he was done is so great. I would have liked him with a swappable head where we see his face. I think Lawrence Baines did such a great job voicing the character. Obviously, that original Toy Biz figure where you can see the Carl Denty head was really defining for a lot of us.
Yeah.
But regardless of that, I think the figure comes with so many accessories. I think he's really well done. It lived up to my expectations, and that's why he comes in at number 7 for me.
So I wouldn't put him on my list just because he is so animated, but I do have the figure. I love him. He is actually in my villains display. Had I known that he was gonna just pop up on this list randomly, maybe I would have had time to grab him so that I could show him to the camera, but he's too embedded in my display for me to do that casually. I actually have him in my display displayed with the Reavers.
Yeah.
He isn't a Reaver, but he is obviously like a militant human villain, and he's
Yeah.
like in bright colors. So like when you kind of have him with those light characters and those light colors, he definitely. I mean, he's kind of in the back of that section to sort of hide the cartoony look to him a little bit more. But when you have him displayed like that, he looks great. You wouldn't necessarily think, oh, that's an animated style figure. So I think he looks great. He's not 100% comic to the comic book, but he's like
No.
close enough that I'm really okay. And I really actually don't mind his giant Friends of Humanity belt buckle.
Yeah,
I
well, oh
think
my God, I was about to say that.
I
I mean, the
wish.
thing that gives it away is the FOH belt buckle when he's in the comics not. So,
Right, but I mean, it is also nice to kind of have some Friends of Humanity representation in our display because they are, a Graydon Creed figure might not be the most exciting action figure, so this may be the only Friends of Humanity like representation we get. And again, he looks great, with Skullbuster and Bonebreaker and Pretty Boy, like all of the Reavers, and it's nice to sort of have this like built up like human like bigot section to my villains display. At this point, he fits right in there. He's a great figure. He's a great likeness of the character, and just his very existence, lends us an opportunity to say "I told you so" to Sean and Hammy. So just for that alone, I thank the gods for an executioner figure, and I appreciate him being on your list so that we can rub it in their faces yet again that this is a known character that deserves an action figure.
I mean, that is a mic drop. And with that, we'll move on to our number 6 spot, which is the last one that we disagree on. So,
Yeah,
like the
top
first
five, we're all in agreement.
Yeah, top 5, there was no doubt, but this is the last one we did not agree on. And I'll kick off with mine, which is Lady Psylocke, Lady Mandarin in the comics. Obviously, her name was changed. Here's the thing. I know where you're going to go where you didn't like her was because we thought it was going to be armored, Outback era Psylocke. And you told me, no, they're going to pull one on us. And you were right. You were right. See, I'm telling you, bitch, I am telling you. This isn't 2020. I'm telling you, you are right.
Thank you.
However, that figure, holy shit. For me, not really wanting this figure and being like, oh, whatever, holding her. I mean, it's a work of art. The paint
Oh yeah.
deco, swappable heads. Wait, they gave her 2 heads. Why can't they give Destiny 2 heads? The power effects, everything. She is a great Psylocke figure. I have I don't know what to tell you. Like, there's no notes on this on my end. I think it's a damn near perfect figure.
Agreed. It's a beautiful figure. She probably she's one of the characters, like if we had expanded this to 15, she would have absolutely been there just based on the fact that she's a beautiful figure. But kind of like I said earlier, like I'm looking to complete teams and get the iconic versions of characters for me. This is doesn't really fall into any, it definitely doesn't fall into any team. It's not the most iconic version of the character that I would want, but it's a gorgeous figure. And I'll say, like, circling back to not being able to incorporate Silver Samurai into my display, had I had room, Silver Samurai, Lady Psylocke, Viper, like all like the Madripoor villains, would have certainly made room for them, just because this figure is so beautiful that
It's
I would
beautiful.
have her in my display. I don't have room for her right now. There's not like a place that she easily slots, but I am not upset about owning this figure now that I have her. Obviously, I got red faced, started sweating, broke out into a cold sweat about them revealing this armored Psylocke instead of Outback armored Psylocke. But having her in my hand, I've calmed down a little bit. I'm at peace with the fact that we got this figure. Still give us the other one, please.
The Jim Lee like art that inspired this figure, I mean, it translated so well. And we were talking about this with Pedro about how since this was released under the label of Marvel Legends 50th anniversary of Wolverine, it
Yep.
was curious they did not do the Outback era Psylocke because Wolverine made her that armor,
Yep.
and that would have been perfect to have her, with him there. So it is really curious and sad that we didn't get that Outback era. However, I mean, I'm
It's
happy.
beautiful.
It's a beautiful figure. That's it. It's so unfortunate because you're like she doesn't really fit in any mode of my display, but she's gorgeous, and that's it. It's
I'll
just a
find a
beautiful figure.
place.
Yeah, I can find a place. How about that? I agree with you. I can find a place.
I will eventually find a place for this figure. She is that good, and I think it's just going to have to be. It's going to have to be like with the Madripoor villains. That's just the only even half logical place. Just she's a beautiful figure. I'm going to find a place for her eventually. I'm at peace. I am at peace with having this figure as long as there's still hope of getting the one that I would rather have.
All right. Well, who's your number six?
Well, continuing with the purple theme, since we were just talking about the lovely purple-haired Psylocke, I am going with the X-Men 97
Oh,
Wave 2 Magneto with his sleeveless jumper, with his opera gloves. I'm obsessed. I'm
gorgeous.
obsessed.
Great
It's
figure.
it looks exactly like the show. It's close enough to, I obviously he has short hair. He didn't have his beautiful 90s mullet when he wore this in the comic, so it's not 100% comic accurate. It's just such a nice figure that combines two of my favorite Magneto eras, circa Uncanny X-Men number 200 and the 90s mullet. It combines two looks that I love into one. I know this is his hero costume, but he is actually the Magneto I'm displaying with my villains because again, I have the Mondo Magneto, so that costume is already represented. And I just wanted an excuse to display this figure. And
Oh,
since
it's
I don't have
gorgeous.
an 97 display, that's what I chose. He's gorgeous. Everything about him. Both of the heads are incredible. I don't know what body this is derived from, but you can get him in a lot of really amazing Magneto positions. The cape is well executed. I'm no notes. This is a really great Magneto figure.
Yeah, and I think he's such a good cultural sample of why X-Men 97 has done so well. It's the monologues that Bo wrote for him, the delivery of the voice acting, the animation, everything. It's just
Yep.
has come together so well for Magneto and X-Men 97, and then to get him in this action figure format. I mean, the Hasbro team, they nailed it, they got it. And again, it's Trial Magneto. And by the way, that's the era, well, a lot of the figures we got this last year and the year before is that '80s, '90s era where you have Child Magneto, where you have the X-Men and the Shi'ar. So this is, if they weren't going to give us a Magneto in the purple costume, at least we get him here in '97.
Yeah, definitely. He's a hot figure. I don't know, like I'm attracted to this Magneto figure a little bit. I,
No.
he's just I love this figure. I would have put him
He is a very
if I had
attractive. He's
known.
good looking. If Rogue, if the first
I get
appearance
why
Rogue
Rogue.
is not, yeah. Well, I was gonna say like, yeah, I understand why Rogue. Trust me, I get why Rogue would like, but first appearance Rogue not a very attractive looking. This one is a very attractive.
Agreed.
Like this looks like a silver daddy, you know.
Yes,
Yeah.
agreed. They nailed exactly what he is supposed to be, and both heads were great, but like this angry, like grimacing head, I'm obsessed. It's dramatic. He's a very dramatic looking action figure, even though the costume is so simplistic. I don't know. He brings the drama, Mama, and I love him so very much.
Okay. Well, speaking of mama and drama, who's our number five figure that I don't have? I'm going to preface by saying I don't have, and that we were walking through New York Comic Con, and you're like, "Oh, that's where you can get this figure," and I said, "Nah, I'm fine." And then everywhere I've seen it, I'm like, "Oh, fuck me!" Like, so now I have to order it on the secondary market.
Yep, sorry about that. You should
Should
always
always listen to
by
you.
now to listen to me. Yeah, the number five figure is Green Quicksilver. I,
Perfect.
speaking of silver daddies, this Quicksilver takes after his father. He's a very attractive, very smarmy, appropriate for the character look on his face. They captured like his pointy, wispy hair, absolutely perfect. I'm more of a green Quicksilver fan than blue. It's unfortunate that this version doesn't fit with X Factor. Otherwise, it would be the one that I display. I might pop his head onto the other one's body now that I'm thinking about it. But either way, this is a great representation of Quicksilver in his early days. If we're being honest, he should probably be colored like more similarly to the classic Rogue because he was wearing green boots and gloves during this era, a lighter green, but I'm not going to complain. It's a really good looking figure, and you absolutely need to track him down.
I'm literally going on eBay right now to like buy
Good.
him as we are chatting. Listen, the last green costume version we got of him was from the Blob Wave. He was a chase figure. I hate that Quicksilver figure. I always call him, I had a Playmates Quicksilver figure because yeah, it
Yes,
looks very Playmate-y. And
those
this is
first two waves. God,
it was
to
so rough.
survive.
So the fact that we got this, I'm out. Even hotter take. I don't even think the Family Matters box set that we got with the blue Quicksilver with Magneto and Wanda is as great as this figure. I mean, this
Yeah,
is like,
yeah.
this to me is a flawless Quicksilver figure. I mean, they just nailed it. Like the two like hairs in the front,
Hmm.
his posability. Look how clean his costume looks. Like the lines there for with
Yep.
the bolt. It's I just know we were walking through New York Comic Con and you pointed out the booth and you're like, that's where you can order him. I was like, absolutely not. I'm fine. Thank you. Like, I'm
Uh,
good. I was like, meh. And
Listen,
I was wrong.
it was
I
the
was wrong.
Walmart booth, so I can
Oh, that
understand
was a Walmart
wanting.
booth. Oh,
It
I didn't know
was.
that.
I can
Oh,
understand not wanting to visit the Walmart booth, but this was
how
worth
much
the.
was he? He's going for 44 online now.
He was standard ML price, so it
Okay.
probably 25.99.
All right. So
It's not
not
a
a
terrible price.
horrible. Yeah.
I would get him. He is worth that. Look
Oh,
at
here
this
he is
man.
for 35. Oh, yeah. I'm
Put
going to buy.
him with your crystal. Put him with your retro card Wanda. You
Yeah.
have to have
His
this guy.
face I mean, it doesn't look identical, but the way how good the face is that mutant armor Toy Biz Quicksilver, where they just capture the spirit of the character, and very
That
well done.
figure, both versions of that figure, incredible. They could repaint this Quicksilver figure in every single costume he has ever worn, and I would probably buy every single one. I like them that much.
All right. Well, speaking of liking very much, our number 4 figure. I will dare not. I will dare not introduce this one.
Okay, well, this should be absolutely no surprise to anyone who listened to me rant and rave about the HasLab Hell Charger, Ghost Rider Hell Charger that did not see the light of day, that I ordered like 10 of to try and get this figure because it was the only way we were ever gonna get her.
And also, you devise a business plan on
Oh, I did.
if you invested in all of this and then resold. This is how much like you were gonna like make up
Oh yeah. Oh
the
yeah.
Engine of Vengeance backers just to get us to this point so we can get this figure. I mean, like. It's so funny. I come across as a crazy one, and everyone's like, "Oh, Dayspring is always off the cuff. He's so every." You are the crazier one. But you're smart
Different.
crazy. I'm
It's a
chaotic
different
crazy.
time.
You're
Yeah.
smart. You're
It's
smart crazy.
calculating.
Yeah.
It's calculating.
You're
I'm like,
calculating.
well,
I'm chaotic.
well, if I buy 10 Madeline Pryor figures, then okay, so that's the spoiler. It is X-Men 97 Wave 2 Goblin Queen Madeline Pryor finally in all her glory. No, she doesn't have like her thighs out. No, she doesn't have like the completely accurate under boob. Yes, she is based off of the animated series, but this figure is incredible. I mean, this costume is I think honestly I prefer this costume to the underboob costume. I think it perfectly blends like the more modern like Chris Anka Maddie costume with the classic Mark Silvestri Goblin Queen costume. So I'm this is if this is the only way, the only costume we're going to get a mainstream non $350 version of Madeline out there, I am all for it. And she came with a baby Nate for her to if we ever get like a sim or a Nastor. I don't know how to pronounce that
I don't know how
demon's
to
name,
pronounce the demons' names.
but the other main demon of Limbo, we're going to be able to recreate Maddie attempting to like sacrifice her baby to to demons
Haha.
to
I
get
love.
revenge on Jean Grey. So
I'm sorry that we did not get that shot in X-Men '97 because that. But I mean,
yes,
I love how they portrayed Batty in X-Men '97. I think
better
it's
than the comics.
good revisionist. Yeah, 100% better in the comics, and that has ignited a whole new generation of Maddie fans. So really well done. But I know it wouldn't have made sense in the story, but I would have loved to have seen her with like
Oh
the
yeah,
baby, baby
yeah.
Cable,
Just
and
for
her ready
some,
sacrifice.
they could have found like a reason just to homage it, even if she wasn't actually trying to
Yeah.
sacrifice her baby, even if that wasn't the story. I just I would say on like the sort of scale of X-Men 97 figures that we talked about earlier, if Executioner represents the cartoony end, and then somebody like I don't know who like a Bishop or a Wolverine
Yeah,
or a
Wolverine's the first one that
Magneto,
comes to mind.
yeah, those represent more the ones that could go either way, comic book or cartoon. I would say this Madeline falls somewhere in the middle of those. She's a little
I
bit
don't know.
cartoony without being too cartoony for me. I think you
She's.
disagree.
I do disagree. I'm sorry. Listen. Okay. First of all, listen. She is on this list for a reason because it's Madeline fucking Pryor, and we need a Madeline Pryor figure out there. But she's like really pale, and like.
She's goth. She's a, she's a goth icon. Of course, she's pale.
And her hair's very bright too, and she looks like Bryce Dallas Howard, in my opinion. Here,
I
she looks
don't
like
see
Bryce
that.
Dallas Howard.
I
She looks
don't see that at
identical
all.
to Bryce
No,
Dallas Howard. There.
no.
Okay. Anyways,
Familia, tell him he's wrong. I don't see that
listen.
at all.
That all being said, wonderfully executed, great hair. Love the power effects. Love
Oh
that
yeah,
green translucent. I know we've seen that power effect before, but the way it's done here, it looks
it
great.
really works for
The
her.
cape is gorgeous. There is no doubt that is Madeline Pryor. No one can ever show me this figure, and I wouldn't be like, oh, it's Jean. No, it is 100% Madeline Pryor. And again, I think when you are so closely tuned with Jean and Madeline, any panel someone gives you, you can tell where it's Maddie and where it's Jean.
Oh
And I
yeah.
think the hair in the back looks when you flip the figure over, that is Madeline Pryor in Inferno. 100%. Sorry,
Oh
that's it.
yeah.
It's perfect. So and the fact that she comes with Bibbit Cable ready to
Did I?
sacrifice Bibbit Cable, I am I'm happy. So I think the figure is everything we could have wanted out of an X-Men 97 Madeline, and we are severely in need of a Madeline Pryor figure. I hope she is a trailblazer for more Maddies to come.
100%. If this, I in my dreams, this would just be a starting point, and we are just going to get more and better Maddie figures in the future. But like the fact that I'm holding a Madeline Pryor Goblin Queen action figure with something even reminiscent of a boob window on it makes me just so very happy. I love this figure. I love the redemption sort of that she got this year with X-Men 97. It's an amazing time to be a Madeline fan.
It's like the way it was written, and I don't think a lot of people who just watch X-Men 97, I don't think they know how, I don't want to say problematic, but
No,
how not
problematic is a good word.
fine, how problematic and how unfair Madeline was treated editorially from the 80s, up until we got Nate Gray, her and Nate Gray.
Little
It's just,
incest never hurt nobody. Listen, he's
but
cute.
but
He's
like
cute. He's
but
cute.
that's when the character finally started getting flushed out and we start seeing more of her different tones. Inferno is not a flattering story for Madeline at all. 97 took the source material and really gave Madeline a redemption and really made them two different characters. So that's what makes this figure, again, very special. All of the work that went into the writing, the animation, Jennifer Hale, and now getting her as a figure, it's just a very it's very rewarding for us Maddie fans who have been advocates for the character for years. Again, I told you this. We had Jordan D. White when you and I were broken up. We had Jordan D. White on the podcast, and he made this comment of like, "Oh, I didn't think Madeline had any fans until we killed her off in Hellions." I'm like, "What? Like, what the fuck do you mean that? Like, that's absurd. Like, Madeline inspires so much passion for us." Sorry. No.
That makes me want to rub my face. Like I'm just I how can you be the editor of the X books and be so out of tune with the fans? People have always loved Madeline. That is
Always, always. And by the way, and they started loving her a lot when she and Nate got paired up. I'm not saying romantically, that can be up for debate, but when she entered the X-Men book,
Yep.
that's when people, that very ferocious Maddie like conversation started coming into play. So,
Yeah, I
so
agree. And
again,
I
this
do.
is just the fact that we have this figure is a crowning achievement.
Yes, absolutely. Crown the Goblin Queen. I something we've talked about for years, going from the X-Men anime series up to X-Men 97 is how the writing has always been so strong in the sense that it can adapt these really complex X-Men stories and characters in like a shorter, more digestible version for the mass populace. I would go so far as to say the changes that they made to do that for Maddie are the only example I can think of off the top of my head where the writing on the show
Yeah.
has been better than the writing. Like I like the direction the show took with Maddie way better than I like what was done in the comics. And even though they've done brilliant adaptations, like I said, this is the first one I think that they've actually improved upon the source material.
Yeah, I wish it would have been Manhattan instead of the
Fair.
mansion, to be very clear, like a little bigger.
Yes.
However, the actual quality of the character development and
Right.
writing and it perfectly done. Took that, streamlined it, not only streamlined it, but made it better.
Right.
So then
They
that's a
had
very
all
difficult thing to say. Do.
Yes, yes, and I agree. I agree. I think I've said it before. I would have rather the Inferno episode been the stakes have been a little bit higher. It have been a problem outside of the X Mansion, maybe been a two-parter, but the character of Maddie has
Yeah.
never had a better arc, a better story than she had on 97. So this was Madeline's year. I'm so happy to have this figure. I am a little sad that I didn't, generate my thousands of dollars in profits on a Ghost Rider car, Maddie figure, but we all have her now, and we can live happily ever after.
You calculated crazy bitch.
Crazy bitch from Madeline Pryor, anything.
All right, so our top three, you did compromise one slot for me, and I
I
appreciate that,
did.
and we'll
Well,
get to it. But
I
we
can't,
agreed, yeah.
can't argue it.
But we agreed on the other two, and especially our number one. But our number three is a very triggering figure for me, because not all of us are as brilliant as you. Who's our number three?
Our number three figure is I'm gonna have to. I guess I'm gonna have to call her Warbird at first because that is what Hasbro called her. But this is fucking Carol Danvers, Ms. Marvel, and her beautiful Dave Cockrum design
That's
lighting
Ms.
costume.
Marvel to you.
Oh, excuse me, Ms. Marvel.
How she said it in the.
I love it. I love it. This figure is everything I have ever wanted in a Carol Danvers action figure. I love Binary. I love Captain Marvel. But this costume is what made me fall in love with Carol Danvers over 30 years ago. She is a this is the new female Buck that I was talking about earlier. I don't know where she came before. I think she might have been, they might have made a Black Widow on this body that I did not buy. So this is the first time that I have had any experience with this new body, and it is incredible. I'm really obsessed with it. Both of her heads were really nice, but I had to go with the more classic chunky
Do you like
mask.
your classic?
I do like my classic. It's just such a great figure. It gives me Meg Ryan Walmart Ms. Marvel action figure vibes, even though I mean she's a far better figure and
Light years.
does not resemble Meg Ryan at all, but like it gives me the same sort of happy vibes I was talking about earlier, of finding that wave in stores, because this is one, yes, I know it's a triggering figure for you, but this is one of those figures that kind of united the fandom on a Sunday morning. We were all running to Target trying to find this figure when she dropped, and she, like, I like to say, where the hell was the energy that this Carol Danvers figure got for the Marvels? I mean, my God, if people were that excited about Carol Danvers, why didn't they show up to the theater? Anyway, I digress. That's not the point. But this figure sold out. You haven't been able to get it since via Target. I feel like it like sold out that day across the country. The only
Oh,
reason
not that day. That minute at 12:01 a.m. sold out.
Yeah, I'm the only way that I got my hands on this figure is I literally placed pickup orders, I think for like six different Targets, and I ordered two at all of them just to be safe to make sure I got one with beautiful paint apps. And five of those Targets canceled those orders, and the one Target that pulled through with one instead of two. And if I hadn't, I did it at literally at 12 at midnight on the dot. I'm on the Target app ordering these figures. So if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have gotten this figure, but it was one of those rare IRL Marvel Legends moments where you just feel where it confirms that you are a part of a community because everybody is flipping out over an action figure drop and getting out of bed earlier than they would have wanted to on a Sunday morning to go get her. And yeah, those are all the reasons I love her. And now for your trauma.
No, well, I mean, listen, first of all, I love this figure so much. I like the other head with the thinner mask, which is a more modern one, and that's the one
Um,
I have display. Fine. Um, but I found her like weeks before because they put her out at my Target and I went to go buy her. They didn't let me buy her. Of course, I infamously got into a fight with my husband later because he was here like, you should have asked to speak to a manager. I'm like, bitch, I have a whole line of people behind me and I'm buying an action figure and I'm not going to be on the internet complaining that I couldn't do that. But I
you
was
should.
so upset. And then Michelle, co-host of the podcast, was in town for the Deadpool and Wolverine premiere that we went to, and she was sleeping over. And I told her we're waking up at 7 a.m. and going to Target to pick her up. We were even at Target the night before to confirm they had like 8 in the back. But what what we did not think about and what evaded my mind was that you can do in-store pickup. And at 12:01 a.m., all the collectors in the Jersey City area got her, preserved her. So when we went to our Target at 7 in the morning, 8 a.m., there was no Carol there. But that
My heart breaks for you.
but that adds to why it was so special when I sent Jeff all the way to like LaGuardia, to the Target by LaGuardia. And I was like, oh, me and Michelle are just going to walk around the city. You go pick that up.
Go find
Go
Carol.
find. No, he really wanted her too as well. But that story, I love it because it lends itself to why we love this figure so much. It was same with the Walmart wave. We were in Tallahassee at the time. We were going to that Target, or excuse me, that Walmart every day looking for
Yeah.
that wave, and specifically Meg Ryan
Yeah.
Warbird. And the Meg Ryan Warbird, I was a little disappointed in because the hair was so short. I've
It was
talked to you about.
weird.
Yeah, the prototype showed it longer, but like
Yeah.
the
It was
actual
weird.
one was shorter. This is like perfect. It's a perfect, and I agree with you. And I'm a little embittered because another figure on this list, and by the way, I contributed to not liking that adaptation of the character, but coupled with this, it goes to show that these characters are beloved
Yeah.
and by fans, and we go out and we go try to hunt them. And I am disappointed because I happen to think The Marvels is a very good movie. And I don't understand why it didn't resonate with people. I don't think there was any. I don't even know why Kevin Feige at the Deadpool Wolverine premiere is being like, this is where the X Men begin in the Marvel universe. Like, I thought you said that about the Marvels. Yeah, Beast and in the post credit scene. Like, what the fuck? And you're just totally ignoring that. Like,
Hateful. Hateful.
hateful. Anyways, I'm glad we love Carol. I can't wait for Moonstone, the Moonstone version to come. That's my favorite version of like the Miss Marvel looks, even though it's Moonstone. I can't wait for it.
Oh, I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed. I am sad that it is officially Dark Warbird. That's not a
Yeah,
fucking thing.
no,
But and that it doesn't, it just comes with the Carol heads with the longer hair that this figure came with. I'm a little sad that it doesn't come with the retro, set super late 70s hair that Carol had when she wore like one Moonstone head, one Carol head. I think it would have been perfect.
hmm
I'm probably, I have 3 Disco Dazzler figures, so I'm probably just gonna pop the head
pop
off
it
of
and put her in
pop the
there.
hair off of one of those and make my, sort of kit bash my own Carol Danvers version. But I'm so excited to be getting that figure derived based off of this figure, which is incredible. So yes, definitely next year. I'm pretty sure we will have another Ms. Marvel on our list. We are living, even though the film may have flopped, we're still somehow living in a golden age for Carol Danvers or Ms. Marvel action figures, and I couldn't be happier. And what's fun is, like I said, we've been not just like the going out and finding this one at Target and going out and finding the Giant Man, Ms. Marvel at Walmart. Even just like the She-Force, like Medusa repaint Miss Marvel that we got in the 90s. Like every time we get a figure of Carol in this costume, it's almost something of an event.
Yeah,
And I feel like it's going to stay that way. It's going to be that sort of vibe
which is so
for
odd because it is a costume that so many fans love, and I think you can sneak it into a mainstream wave. I'm
yeah,
really again, it's She-Force, is Walmart, and it's Target. Why
it's
are
all
they
these
really?
exclusives.
Yeah, why?
Who knows? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, and they still don't believe in the popularity of Carol Danvers, especially in the year 2024. But I just keep them. I just keep them coming. Keep these beautiful Carol Danvers figures coming. I would buy any Carol Danvers, any version of Carol Danvers, just on principle. But like, if they keep making them this good, like truly, I'm truly spoiled.
Well, number two has made me truly spoiled because we're going to take the Familia for a ride. It is Marvel versus Capcom Cable in the blue costume. Oh,
I will say this is a
oh,
gun from the 90s Cable, because
yeah,
I can't abide
yeah.
uh, I can't abide I can't he needs to have a stupidly large gun. So I gave him this one, but that's my only complaint about this figure, is that the gun he came with wasn't large enough. This is
I
a
agree.
fucking beautiful version of this costume. I am obsessed with this.
And there's some differences from the comic book, obviously, like and some of the other figures that we've gotten. And you've talked about it. Let me see. Did you swap
Oh
out
yeah,
this arm?
this is the I
Yeah,
forgot
you
that this
swapped
is the
out the
kit
arm.
bash.
Yeah,
This has
yeah, you kit bash,
Hercules' arm on
which
it.
is fair. Listen, I'm not angry about that. I prefer the long blue sleeve because
Show
it's
a
the
little
Marvel.
skin,
Yeah.
Nate.
But for me, like they got the hair right, the power effect, and it this figure just makes me happy. I don't know. Like I'm looking at it, I'm crying. Like We had him as a Marvel Legends. He was a variant to the Wave 6 of the Toy Biz. We had him in the Toy Biz 5-inch wave as well, with like the mask, like the flesh that comes off. This character in this like look is amazing. I can't wait to pose him next to Marrow. That's the one I'm dying to pose him next to. I think they're just going to look so great.
Yeah.
I I could not. This figure got delivered to the Miami place I'm at here, and Evolution Toys saw how upset I was because I was going to be down here for a while, and he sent me one, and I love it.
You
I love this
cried.
figure. I cried. I couldn't get a hold of this figure anywhere.
Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know, like Cable wearing this costume signaled a very like dramatic shift in him, where he was like this future wayward mercenary to more of a savior, a
Yep.
Scotty look, and he didn't come with the spear, but in the comics he has his spear with this. It was such a seismic shift in the character and added to his lore. I love him. I That's it.
No, I mean, and listen, this Cable does not, the costume, it does not align with any of the other X Force members that we have. That would be, the brown Rob Liefeld that we got a few years ago. But I'm just playing this one. I don't care if it is, comic accurate or cohesive. This figure just looks so good, and this costume is still so 90s that I feel like it fits in with that X Force display, whether it's accurate or not. And like I said, I did put Hercules's bare arm on him because for me, when I think of this costume, like, yes, Marvel versus Capcom, he has the long sleeve. I understand that. But for me, when I think of this, I think of what you mentioned, which is the Toy Biz Cyborg Cable with like the rip-off flesh that presumably would have been Husk's action feature had we
Mm.
gotten her in that Generation X Wave 3. Rest in
Yeah.
peace.
R.I.P.
But no, so and he had the short sleeve. So this is
Yeah.
just me sort of recreating the ideal childhood version of this Cable for me. But obviously, had I not had the Hercules arm to put on him, I would have been very happy as he came. He is a very nicely detailed, nicely proportioned, good representation of this character. I mean, I kind of compromised and with putting him at number two rather than a little bit further down on the list. But once I had him in my hands again, was looking at him up close, I was like, I'm gonna let you have this one. This is a beautiful figure.
It's a beautiful figure. And for me, him being number two was, for me, a no brainer, at least top list, because our number one is. I mean, I think when we were thinking about our number one, it's the same feelings I have for Cable, which is like, there's no way that she can't be number one. And I'm going to let you introduce her, but we will preface that I guess she's not an X-Man, but she's like X-Men adjacent, and she did handle the last will and testament of Xavier. So
Did
she's good
sleep
enough.
with Juggernaut.
She did sleep with Juggernaut. So I mean, like, whatever. Like, it's a great figure, and there was no doubt. This is not like we could have second guessed it. Yeah.
It's She-Hulk. Sorry, I'm just having a little bit of fun there. Yeah, no, it is their Iron Man retro card, She-Hulk. This is the Jen Walters that we have all been clamoring
Wow.
for forever. She is the perfect representation of the character, as we all love her in the sensational She-Hulk, sort of John Byrne FF days. She's smiling. She has her giant hair. She's like this incredible shade of like neon green. I mean, and she's built like a freaking brick house. I mean, I know that that's ridiculous, but like she just looks. She just looks exactly like you would want a She-Hulk to look. This is an X-Men podcast, and we're probably supposed to put an X character at number one, but like we will find any reason to rank this as number one. She is just incredible. And like I don't have it with me, but like her accessory is like a gun that you can put in her hands and make it look like she's snapping it in half. And even just like the fun posability and playability of that simple accessory adds to just the overall wonderfulness of this figure. I'm obsessed. I expect we're going to get her repainted in the Fantastic Four colors sooner rather than later. totally fine with that. They can release any version. They can repaint this figure in any version of She-Hulk they want, and I would buy it. It is incredible.
It's curious to me that they released her under the Iron Man retro card banner because this was originally in this costume was in the Hulk series,
Yeah. Yeah.
in the Toy Biz days, and I don't know off the top of my head if she was in the Iron Man series, but she definitely was not an action figure in the Iron Man series. This is why we love She-Hulk. This is
Yeah.
100% why we love She-Hulk. I mean, this is. I was gonna. I don't know why bodacious comes to mind.
Sensational.
Sensational, bodacious, like character that I mean. This is why we love the '90s. This is why this character's the John Byrne inspired art. It's great. I was not a fan of the Disney Plus series. I have made no secret of that. I know, but I think Tatiana was casted perfectly. I think she was casted perfectly. I love the messaging. It's not an issue of the messaging. I just thought the writing was not good in terms of a plotting standpoint. And I thought that would be it for, and we can disagree on that. I thought that would be the end of She-Hulk because it was so contentious and vile out there to even discuss the series. However, we get this figure, and I'm like, please put her back in the MCU. Give her another shot. Like, I want more She-Hulk merch. I love this character so much.
She-Hulk is part of my holy trinity of non-X-Men characters. It's Carol, it's Jessica Drew, and it's She-Hulk. And so to have had such a bad reaction to two-thirds of those characters being introduced in the MCU has been a little bit rough for me, but as we can tell, there is no shortage of me getting what I want in Marvel Legends, at least. And I hope that, the failure of them in expanded media doesn't mean the end of them in merchandising, because I will buy all of it. And I mean, like, this walked right off the John Burden page. Like, this She-Hulk is on her way to rip up your X-Men collection, like, right now. I mean,
rip up your X-Men collection, sleep with Juggernaut. Although that was like an alternate version of her. Whatever.
It was
in my head canon. In my head canon, it was her. Like, it's just look at her.
I know she's tall enough that she can fit in the frame when I stand her on my laptop.
It's just like the green shading in her hair, her face deco. It was perfect. That's it. I have no notes. That number one for me when I held her, I really wanted her. I could not find her out in the wild. I think we found her eventually at a comic book store. Like, we went to like multiple comic book stores, could not find her. Months later, finally found her, and that's when I messaged you, and I was like, yeah, I can't imagine this is not number one on my list. Like, yeah. And again, she's not an X-Men character. We're an X-Men podcast, but she's damn near perfect. Not even near perfect. She is perfect.
She's perfect. She's the absolute perfect representation of She-Hulk. I don't care if she was ever on the Iron Man series. I don't care if she's an X-Man. I don't care about any of that. I'm just thrilled that we got this figure, and I'm thrilled again to receive her.
Price point for this what you get here. I think she is the best action figure in the market. I think she is a domestic market. None of these just like a regular run of the mill action figure. She is the best that the market can offer. She is emblematic of that. I've never said that before about a legend. I'm always like, okay, well, I got this. There's nothing they could have done differently. I mean, look at the hair. I know, and it's very Phoenix Force Creations hair, by the way. I like that. Like, Mike has really inspired the market. That's it. Number one, She-Hulk.
Number one with a bullet. She's been number one we knew in like July that this was going to be our top figure. She's just fucking incredible. And not to mention that we at least I've received my Secret Wars Titania figure. So like, we have another bulky, strong female figure for this figure to fight, and like starting out the year not having either of those characters, and finishing the year being able to build an incredible display with two powerhouse women beating the shit out of each other. Like, I'm happy to have that, and I almost said Toy Biz. I appreciate Hasbro really delivering like how many of these, most not unsurprising, most of our choices are female characters, but like it's not just because we're little gay boys excited to be getting these, just be getting these characters. It's that Hasbro has really started knocking these female characters out of the park. The changes they have made to the female, molds, and not giving every single female character they have the spell casting hands. Like they've started to diversify it a little bit more, and their efforts are noticed, appreciated, and like keep up the good work. This was a banner year for female legends, I think.
Well, before we get into our Build a Figure honorable mention and non X-Men character, speaking of female figures, we do need to have a little section here because there was one figure that was not on the list. I think a lot of people would be surprised that I wouldn't have advocated for her to be on the list, and that is the Marvel Legends Deluxe Phoenix figure.
She's bad. Like if we're talking purely the figure itself, the stand is obviously incredible. That Phoenix fiery base is incredible. I can't wait to give it to a Rachel figure one day if she doesn't come with one of her own. But that actual Phoenix figure itself is horrible. Horrible.
Yeah, I mean, listen, like I think the figure itself and the deluxeness of it, everything we got is great. 100% wonderful. You got the Phoenix effect, you got two swappable heads. So, again, in the paint deco and everything is great, but that face of Jean with like the heavy mascara again, like I couldn't do it.
And like the Courtney Cox like micro bang.
Yeah, and like I would like when you're doing a Jean as Phoenix, like her hair needs to be big, like
Yes.
closer to the white hot room, right? Higher the hair,
Yes.
closer to white hot room. And then the second head looked more like Dark Phoenix, and that
It's
looks
on my Dark Phoenix, and it works.
Yeah, and you sold me on that head on a Dark Phoenix body because I was like, okay, that's where it works. But even so, this is a preference. I don't like the hair like really flat like that and then going up
No,
like this.
agreed.
I don't know. It's just like I get it. Her telekinesis is rising, her power is rising, but like it just doesn't look good. Again, Dark Phoenix Jean, it's like the big hair.
Yep.
Oh, so I'm
And
glad we have it, and I'm glad so many. By the way, I want to clarify: so many people love it. They do love it,
they're
and
wrong.
I'm glad they love it. But it was just, I don't know. I pop
For
off
me,
the head, put something else on it.
for me, the colors were wrong. The green, that is not Phoenix green to me. The shape of the black part, like, so to be clear, it was on the same buck as the Carol Danvers that we were ranting and raving being so amazing. Like, so the body is not the problem, but it's the way that the shoulder, like the butterfly shoulder joints, like cut into the black part of the Phoenix logo means that it's kind of misshapen. So like the shape of the Phoenix logo isn't comic book accurate. I don't like the green they chose. I don't like the golden yellow they chose. I don't like the red they chose for the head. I don't like the eyeshadow. That figure just has a lot working against it, and I'm just so grateful that I got it on Big Bad Toy Store for the wrong price.
Same, I did too. But I also ordered it elsewhere, and I have like 3 of them, and I'm like, oh god,
oh my god, you need to remember to cancel your orders.
I know, well, because I got 2 from Big Bad at that price, so I got both of them for like $60-$70, which was great, and then I had another one from Amazon that I forgot to cancel.
Yeah, well, fine.
Yeah,
but she's a disappointment. She's good for enhancing your Dark Phoenix figure, and that's about it. Sorry.
So, no, I mean, listen, I'm a huge Jean fan. I wish I could sit here and fight with you and say you're absolutely wrong, but it's the cosmeticness of it, but I'm glad that we have that victory, that we got a deluxe Phoenix figure, and hopefully Hasbro heard the feedback on it. Like, the face is just very off. It's just, and by the way, we have a familia member, Alexander, that I hung out with, and I went to his apartment, and we like recorded like a special like X-Men episode. I love him very much, and I noticed in the corner he had the figure with the head popped off with the Dark Phoenix head on it, the RetroCard Dark Phoenix, and I looked at him and I was like, whoa, look, you have Jean there. He goes, yeah, I had to remove that head because it was so ugly. Demonic. Anyways.
Try harder, Marvel girl.
Try harder, Marvel girl. Anyways, build a figure. Your build a figure of the year?
So I I think you should go first because I think your choice is interesting and I have things to say about it. I just personally don't qualify it as a Build-A-Figure.
So it's technically not a build a figure. It's like a deluxe figure, but like for me, it was like the one that everyone wanted. It's the one that I still don't have, and I'm waiting on it until March. Is the Arcade Sentinel, and you were the one who messaged me to say it was online, and we were at the Varvatos store in the Oculus with no reception. Again,
Okay,
another,
it wouldn't have mattered. The Hasbro
ah,
website was
yeah,
fucked when this went up. It
but
took
but
me
we
45 minutes of
we
straight
kept
trying.
refreshing, and we had it in our basket, and we were on the ferry back to Hoboken, still not working,
I
and
entered a phone number. Why are you doing this to me?
yeah, like I keep doing that, like yeah, and I was like, what is your malfunction here, like
It was all
Hasbro.com.
Hasbro's malfunction. It wasn't
Yeah.
you for
And
once.
so yeah, well yeah, I didn't think about it like 3 days later, but I was so upset because I really want this. So it is the Arcade Sentinel figure. Why is it not your top pick? Well, it's not
No,
technically
because it's
bad.
not. The only reason it's not a top pick is because I do actually have a Build-A-Figure this year that I
Yeah.
enjoyed completing and I'm really impressed with. If we were talking like deluxe figure, there's a very good chance that this would be my pick because obviously they came in 2 packs, so I got two packs. I have 4 Sentinels, and it actually the release of it kind of aligned when I finally was able to use my new display case. So the first display I actually set up was like an arcade, like a side scroll, like sort of themed arcade with Wolverine and Storm and Dazzler and Colossus in it and like arcade poses fighting these Sentinels. And it was just supposed to be a temporary thing because usually I'm very much like a yearbook photo kind of like lineup. I don't do like action scene dioramas
Mm-hmm.
in my display case, but it's still there. Like 5, 6 months later, it's still there because I love the look of that Sentinel so much. I love that arcade game so much. Just the vibes of it make me so happy. And I'll put a picture on Instagram so everyone can see it. But since I wasn't able to set my computer up in front of my display case as I wanted due to lighting issues. But no, I digress. It's a great figure. It looks so good with all of the arcade X-Men costumed figures that we have. I'm so happy that we have it. I'm glad that it is not. There is a little bit of like the pixelated 8-bit look to the face a little bit, but I'm glad it doesn't have like a pixelated cell shading effect like those X-Men animated, so the VHS figures we were talking about earlier. I hate that so much. I could have seen them doing some sort of pixelated paint scheme on this, and I'm really glad that they didn't. It's such a great looking figure, and I am excited for you to finally get your hands on it because I think you're going to be really happy.
Well, tell the fine folks at home which is your pick for the Build-A-Figure.
Okay, so my pick is actually Zabu, who's on my desk at work with Kazar. I don't have him here, but I don't. It just is coming from the early days of Hasbro Marvel Legends when we got like a repainted Beast Wars, like saber-tooth tiger or some shit
Mm-hmm.
as
That's
our
fair.
Zabu with the STCC Kazar Shanna the She-Devil
I do love
set.
that. That was
It
our at my head for such a long time.
and it worked perfectly for that. They're all so outdated at this point. But coming from that sort of angular, animated, no fur detailed Zabu to this incredible, posable one that we have now, it's just so great. And I bought so many figures from that wave that I don't give a shit about. Like some weird Thor and like Red Widow. I'm not even sure who that is
I
or
don't know
what
who
her
Red
purpose
Widow
is.
is. Yeah.
But I bought her specifically so that I could complete a Zabu. I bought an Icarus. I don't care about Icarus. Like all the things that I will do for my favorite saber-tooth tiger from the Savage Land so that he can go with his hot loincloth daddy, I'm gonna do. I'm just he's a great figure and it makes me want to put together a Savage Land display when the green jumpsuit Xavier comes out.
Oh yeah, and I'm shocked that we haven't gotten an announcement for Savage Land Rogue. Oh, well, I guess a little bit of a scandalous looking figure, but
But I mean, I'm sure we're gonna get Shayna the She-Devil. So
yeah.
I bet you that we'll probably get Rogue first on some newly created Savage Land female body, and then we'll get Shanna, and everyone will be happy to have their, naked ladies in their display.
Okay, our last two categories. And Familia, thank you for sticking through us. You know, we always have these feels when it comes to Marvel Legends.
Only 2 hours. We're doing
Only two
great.
hours. Honorable mention.
I think we agree on this one, actually.
I was going to
Um,
change it now, but I don't know if I can because I agree with you that it has to be this figure.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Lalandra,
Yeah.
the Empress herself, in her silver Empress armor, not in her black spider bathing suit,
Which is
as somebody may or may not have predicted this
That's
time last
what I
year.
wanted. But again, we already had that head. And you put it on the Silver Sable body from the Mystique, Walgreens. Why couldn't we just get her with the spider bikini or bathing suit? Oh,
Maybe we will someday, but
maybe.
I'm happy we got the one we got because of that kit bash. Never, it was never good enough for me.
With the
Never good enough.
Odin cape, and the
I
Silver
get it.
Sable.
I have all of those components and I built that kit bash, but it was
Mm.
not good enough for me. And I'm so happy that we have this Alondra. She looks incredible. She's somewhere in this room. I haven't found her. But she has her armor detail is incredible. She has her trident. She has like a really kind of animated, like swooshing out kind of cape. She looks very regal, very commanding. I think she is just a really excellent figure. And I mean, she was very close to being on my list proper. And I just do have to give, because this guy was surprisingly one of probably on my short list as well. I do have to give a shout out to the figure that she was packed with, which is the transforming Brood Wolverine. I mean, that guy just looks incredible. You can recreate that classic Mark Silvestri Outback era cover absolutely perfectly with him. I don't have a place to put him right now, but eventually I want to have him with the Brood in my display. I just we're fleshing out, for years and years we've been sort of fleshing out the Guardians of the Galaxy side of the Marvel Cosmic Universe, and now we're finally getting to the X-Men side of the Cosmic Marvel Universe, and I'm thrilled with the results so far.
I am too. Listen, I really would have loved the Spider Rebellion costume. I make no secret of that. But this does look really good. I was thinking as we were talking, like, oh man, maybe that deluxe angel, the Warren Worthington angel.
He's very nice.
He's very nice. He's a great figure. Love him very much. But I think it goes to Lalandra because I think that character has the levity. I wish, again, I wish he would have come with some more accessories, like maybe
Yeah.
like without her crown head, maybe like I don't want to say depowered, but you know what I mean, without the
Yeah,
armor,
no, with her feathered hair.
feather hair. Maybe with an M Cron crystal. I'm dying for an M Cron crystal accessory. I have the Hero Clicks one, but again, it's a great figure. I'm glad she was released. Why in the banner? Oh, I remember now why I was like, oh, it's going to be that costume because of the animated series. So
Yeah.
give us like a Logan, and at least you can do. I don't know why we have Wolverine and Lalandra. It's kind of an odd choice, but like whatever. We have Lalandra in this costume. I'm really happy with it. Yeah, no, she's a great figure. Well done. Light years better than that prototype they released when we had to vote on them in like the early aughts. Remember when they're like, you can vote on like North Star and Aurora, White Phoenix, Lalandra, Havoc in a modern costume.
Oh, that modern
Way
Havoc, I cry.
beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And then, sorry, you just changed your non X Men one. I'm like, I'm going to change mine too then because I felt strongly of this one. Yeah. Anyways, why don't we get into our last one, which is the non X Men character?
Yeah, so I mean, I had to be fair, this one was there. I just had
Yeah.
two listed there, and I finally, and at the last moment, decided who I really wanted it to be. So my non-X character, aside from She-Hulk and Carol Danvers, and arguably Quicksilver and Hallows Eve, is going to be Scarlet Spider, the vintage card. I have him right over here. Why don't I grab him real quick?
Get him, get him, get him, get him.
Get it, get it, get it. Yeah, so this boy right here, he is so
We love
beautiful.
Ben
The
Riley. Yeah.
detail on his little cropped,
Yeah.
like self-made hoodie here.
Yeah.
It's got like rough edges, like he cut it himself in the back alley like he did. That went through such like detail to have different colored like drawstrings, and they're kind of look like they're blowing in the wind. And you can get them in some cool crouchy poses. Like this is just when I think of Ben Riley, this is exactly what I think of. And I'll be honest, I have the Mafex Scarlet Spider figure, and this blows that one out
I
of the
agree.
water.
The Mafex Scarlet Spider is not that great.
No.
Sadly, that is a much better. That is a much better. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, that way, by the way, that is like, I love the Mafex figures for very different reasons, but if I'm looking at things objectively, Hasbro can blow those Mafex figures right out of the water. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
the price point alone, you get more bang for your buck with those than you do. Like Nate, even though we have Mafex Nate coming up, like he is expensive. He's the most expensive Mafex out there. He's like 120,
crazy.
and I'm like, it's not like if you were having to decide the Marvel Legends Nate, which is always on
Would be
discount,
fine.
you'll be more than fine with that. I know it breaks my heart to say that he's always on discount, but you know what I mean.
It's fine.
It's
More
fine.
for you. More
But
Nate's for you.
anyways, that is a wonderful Scarlet Spider. I cannot disagree with that choice by any means, and I love Ben Riley so much.
Oh yes, oh yes. I have him. I have this Scarlet Spider displayed with my Spider-Man Omnibus collection, and I have the Chasm version of Ben Riley from Dark Web with Hallows Eve and Maddie, and my X-Men villains display. There is some serious Ben Riley representation happening in this room right now, and I am not mad at it. God knows I love me some Ben Riley, and this is definitely the definitive Ben Riley figure we have ever received.
So I'm switching my non-X character. It was originally Luke Cage with the Iron Fist box set or two
Yeah,
pack. I
solid
really love
choice.
that. I love that. I like the Stanford Green series that he did a couple years ago. I just love that two pack. I love the duo together. But you also had this figure listed, and that's the one you removed. And I think this is objectively a better non X Men character, and it is Crystal with Lockjaw. That's it. We've wanted Crystal for a long time. I would prefer the 90s with the
Yes.
jacket. I would love that. However, I acknowledge you cannot do that. You need to do her in her classic yellow costume with Lockjaw. And you get so many accessories, double heads, power effects, swappable face. This is one that Hasbro not only delivered, they understood the assignment, and they put in extra credit. Even when they already had an A plus, they put in the extra credit for it. Perfect.
No, I absolutely agree. If we had, a deluxe release option on this list, Crystal would be that choice. I have her on my desk at work with the goodest boy Lockjaw in his cute little seated position with his little chicken legs. Like I love it so much. Shout out to Pedro, shout out to JL Lager, all these people who
Oh.
have been waiting for a Crystal figure for literal decades. I'm so very happy for them. You said it, it's not the costume I would have preferred. I obviously love the black and white with the 90s leather jacket over it. And there was a part of me that thought after we got the Cersei Marvel Legends figure in her, very similar outfit to Crystal's, that was the version we would get. But this yellow costume is absolutely iconic, so I cannot be mad at it. And I especially love the fire and ice effects, like you mentioned. I have her doing that, and the alternate head with like the sweeping hair, so it kind of looks like she's just fresh from teleporting in with like Lockjaw. It's a great representation of a character that people have literally ever since there have been Marvel action figure want lists. Crystal has been near the top since like literally 1994.
We never got a Toy Biz in Human
This is the
Crystal,
first
right? I'm like,
time ever,
yeah,
ever,
wow.
ever.
Didn't even put that there because yeah, we got obviously Medusa. We got the lead cast figure because I had a lead cast figure, but that doesn't
Yep.
count.
No.
Yeah, we've
Got
never
some
had a
mini minis.
crystal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is the first
Oh,
action
you know
figure
why
of.
I was confused? Because I'm thinking of the Mary Jane repaint of Sue Storm. That was the anime series, like Marvel Famous Couple, and
Yeah,
because she has the yellow and the red
yeah.
hair, and I'm like, wait a minute, I can almost think of no, this is
So
truly our
many
first
people
time.
painted that. I remember like back in the AOL keyword Marvel
Yeah.
Toy Biz Brotherhood days, everybody was painting that Invisible Woman Mary Jane figure to be Crystal, but we never got an official release of her, and this has been a very long time coming, and a lot of people are very happy.
Well, it has been a wonderful year for Marvel Legends. I mean, as per usual, we had a lot to say. I'm really I enjoyed the hobby so much this year. I'm
Yeah,
looking forward to what's coming out next year. And I listen, that new wave of X-Men that was announced with Husk, Fabian Cortez, um, Gambit, Olive Marrow, like that's it. I just take my money. That's it. Like,
all of
I'm
it.
ready for it. I'm ready for it.
That is hands down probably the best wave of Marvel Legends X-Men we've seen in a really long time. I am
I
so
agree with
excited
you.
for
I
it.
couldn't
I
agree with
cannot
you
wait.
more. If they would have just thrown in a Doug Ramsey or an Adam X, I would have been like perfect wave for me.
No
Perfect.
notes. I
No
mean,
nouns.
and what is encouraging to me, and I think a lot of people, is that lineup is exactly it was leaked. It confirms that some of the leaks are, as usual, we can kind of count on the Marvel Legends leaks these days, and knowing that sort of too good to be true wave actually turned out to be true gives me so much faith that we are actually seeing Rachel, and we are actually going to see Farrell, and we're going to see some of these characters that we have been waiting for such a long time, and they're going to be executed beautifully because the figures we got this year are so beautiful, and the figures revealed that husk with her fucking ripping her skin off. Like we're getting these characters that we've wanted forever, and they're executed so good. It's just such an exciting time to be a Marvel Legends fan, and we are reaching this point where, of course, there's some very upsetting rumors that Hasbro may be, forfeiting the Marvel license, which, with all of that we see at Five Below and Ross these days, I can't say that I don't understand why that may be looming. But if this is the end for Marvel Legends from Hasbro, we are going out on an incredibly high note.
I
2025
hope
looks
it's
like it's going to
not.
be just an insane year for Legends, and I can't wait.
Yeah, same. I think 2025 is going to be great. I hope those are just rumors. I've had different people tell me that it's just a disgruntled employee who went on a podcast I haven't been able to verify this,
Right.
who
No.
just said something, but, and we've talked about it too on the back end. I hope it's not because that wave, the Genesis, well, yeah, I think they're calling him Nemesis, but Genesis in the comics wave, those are all characters that are a cultural sample of more to come,
Yeah.
right? The X
Yeah.
Factor, Cyclops, Marrow. You can do more Marvel versus Capcom. Husk. We don't need to talk about Generation X. So, fingers crossed that Hasbro will endure. We know that there's still. Dan took it to Twitter. He said that, hey, we're still planning Marvel Legends through 2026. So that does not quench any fears, but at least we
Yeah.
know that for the next 2 years we have nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
So here's to a great year in 2025.
Here's to a great year in 2025. I can't wait to be doing this again this time next year, and I will
Wait,
be exalting the Rachel that we have finally
no,
received.
I listen. We're gonna end on this because I think I'm gonna have to forfeit any characters I may love like Fabian Cortez. I'm gonna have to be like, no, cannot even be on the top like five because if we get a Jennifer Garner Elektra and a Marvel Legends Rachel, I mean, there's no winning. That's it. Our friendship would be over.
I
What
know.
you're gonna have to think about is Rachel or Elektra for your number one
I mean, it's
spot.
going to be Rachel. It's going to be
Okay.
Rachel. I'm going
Okay.
to be. I'm excited to get. Would be excited to get a Jennifer Garner. And actually, I was going to ask you if there's a character not on the leaked lists who is the character you want the most not on the leak list. For me, it would be Jennifer Garner Electra. I
Yeah.
can't believe we have seen a leak for her. She would absolutely be my number one most wanted outside of what we've
Yeah.
already seen. Curious if
I
you.
there's so many, and it always depends on like my day, like my mood. I could say like Adam X or Doug Ramsey,
Yeah,
but
I knew it was going to be one of those two.
how about this? Like, I hope we get surprised with X Factor Jean, and she's in the red and yellow. I know she
I
won't
would say
be.
that.
I know 100% she won't be, but if it was one that I would want, X Factor Gina in the red and yellow.
Okay. I mean, I can't argue with that. I'm a green and yellow guy, and I even like it with the skull cap, so I'm like
I think
alone on that one completely.
I poor Ryan Ting on DMs. I'm like, I'm very guarded when I show any data with Power of Eczema or anything, but I like screenshotted the results of like, does the familia want both heads, skull cap, or hair out? I'm like, these are the numbers I came in for it. And poor Ryan Ting like has to endure like the crazy gene stand that I am, and he's such a good sport. But one thing I do hope that we get more of and continue getting more of is the Hasbro team doing their live streams. We are here. We're talking because Dan, Ryan, and Dwight have created such a wonderful culture. It's always so fun to see them on the live streams. You met Ryan Ting for the first time at New York
It was
Comic
so great to
Con.
meet you. Oh my god.
And it was so nice, like the way he said, he's like, I feel like I know you because I listened to the show and everything. I mean, again, that is such a rarity that you have these kinds of people who are engaged. So we are really happy, and I can't wait for 2025 as I play with my hair
Keep up
here.
the good work. Keep up the good work, gentlemen. Y'all are absolutely killing it. Like, even if we have little nitpicks here and there,
They're nitpicks.
yeah, they're nitpicks at this point.
And I said that when I reacted to like the revealed legends list. I was like, anything I'm saying, like that's it. We live in a world where it's a nitpick situation. You know what I mean? That's because they're such great figures.
We're getting Husk ripping off flesh from her face. I mean, golden age.
All right, Familia, let us know your top 10 in the comments. Slide into our DMs. But I am the Uncanny Dayspring,
I'm the adjectiveless Flinkman.
and we'll see you later.
Bye.